Kentucky just snapped. Uh-oh. Here we go.
What happens when you have anti-ICE protesters from deep blue Cincinnati wander across a bridge into deep red Kentucky?
Ooh, bro, they went to the PvP server. Big mistake. Big mistake. Shouldn't do that.
Finally get to see the FAFO scale in action as these activists block the rolling bridge between Ohio and Kentucky. And while Cincinnati PD is gently arresting these people,
Yep. We got ourselves a 2%er here. That's right.
while protesting, Kentucky's Covington police immediately laid down the law.
They got a paintball gun. Damn. They're just getting dragged away.
Now, one copper started landing haymakers on a protester in a Cincinnati Reds cap, while
just beat the fucking shit out of him. Good. You resisting arrest? You're trying to cause problems?
Lady attacked the cops with her tactical slipper.
Oh my god.
Her tactical slipper, as the K-9 cops were finally deployed.
Oh shit.
Now, what's interesting is how Kentucky
build bridges, not walls. Is the irony not lost on them when they're creating a wall of people? You understand that, right? You're against building, like, so you're standing on a bridge, you're obstructing a bridge by building a wall, holding a sign to build bridges and not wall. Like, this is the kind of shit that makes me think that we're living inside of a simulation.
These media reported on the arrests versus how the liberal media highlights
Kentucky cops beat protesters. Good.
Kentucky cops that beat protesters, simply demonstrating.
By the way, my viewpoint is that if you are in the street, I think the cops should be able to drag your fucking ass off the street. You need to get off the street. You're trying to obstruct traffic. I don't care. If someone, I don't think you could make it legal to run people over, but I certainly wouldn't give a fuck. Sorry. Just don't do it. Get out of the road. With extreme force? Yeah, I don't care about that at all. It's a safety issue? Absolutely. Florida did? Yeah, exactly. Fucking based. Florida made that legal? Yeah, you can just run them over. And you know what they don't do in Florida, by the way? They don't stand in front of the street.
Against the ICE arrest of a hospital chaplain, with Cincinnati's local outlet sensationalizing it.
This is our country! Why are we being beat up because we're doing a peaceful march?
Story I'm getting.
That's crazy, right? How is it that this is what it must feel like to be racist? Because, like, I'm so validated all the time, over and over and over. This is the only form of racism that I can participate in for now.
Why are we being beat up because we're doing a peaceful march?
Story I'm getting is
Shut up,
peacefully
bitch.
assembling, having a protest, and then somebody came down here in a car and antagonized them. And there was a confrontation between that driver and the protesters.
He said, I'm American, and he just threw me down on the ground. And I am 70 years old. This is my country.
This is possibly the
Shut up, Karen. Go back to the nursing home. Get out of the street, bitch.
greatest illustration of culture clash, as plenty of liberal places would simply allow activists to block a bridge. But Kentucky is showing them this renaissance of justice, as they're simply bewildered at the idea that they will be forcefully arrested when taking over our infrastructure. As Cincinnati's local outlet covers a story reporting how 13 were arrested by Kentucky's police for rioting.
For riot in the first degree, unlawful assembly, failure to disperse, obstructing a highway, obstructing emergency responders, criminal mischief, disorderly conduct, and resisting arrest. Bro. See, this is why I'm telling you guys, we need to make sure that we have these prison work programs set up. We've got to get that guy from El Salvador over to America and figure out how he gets all of them to get to work. And we need to do the same thing to them.
Amongst other things.
Throw the book at him?
But framing it with a car antagonized.
A black SUV was seen driving the wrong way down the bridge as rallies. Okay, police stated that some protesters blocked the bridge while others marched.
Peaceful protesters. Imagine you're just trying to get to work, and the unemployed hordes with nothing to do on a weekday afternoon start pounding on your vehicle while waving some other country's flag that has...
Welcome to California. Yeah, I totally don't give a shit if people run them over. I don't. Sorry.
Absolutely nothing to do with what they're protesting, as these activists are allegedly angry over a Cincinnati children's chaplain being arrested after he recently lost his asylum status in America, as back in 2022, he filed a lawsuit over the feds flagging him after applying for a job in an Oregon prison. But now facing deportation, they claim his life is in danger if sent back to Egypt, which they're already...
Damn, that's too bad. Shouldn't have been here.
Accommodating for this by sending people to third-party countries. As one, I really wonder if he was given the option of the South Sudan or El Salvador, would he suddenly change his mind and prefer to go home? And two, they keep framing him as this children's chaplain wrongfully losing his asylum status, but you really have to search to find out why he lost it. As even
why did he lose it?
NPR's network reports on his case, stating it's over his time on the board of an Egyptian community organization that has ties with an organization that their own government classifies as a terror group, to which he...
No way. No way. Wow. Supporting terrorists again. Get them out, bro. They got to get rid of these people. Oh my God, they got to get rid of all of them.
He openly admitted his affiliation with on his application.
I think that people don't understand if they actually had like an open recruiting for like ICE to just go and fucking get rid of all these people. They would be like the website would be shut down by the amount of people trying to apply.
But now the response is that group has been ubiquitous in many aspects of the country's civic life. As honestly, I have no idea how that clears his name, other than possibly the most important aspect of this case is being conveniently omitted.
Isn't it weird how all of these people just somehow end up on the side of supporting militant Islamic terrorist groups? How does that keep happening? What are the odds? I feel like they're like 100%. To be fair, the Egyptian government would call a SHU a terrorist organization it was facing away from the government. Not our problem. Not our problem, not our issue. I do not want to import Middle Eastern problems and Middle Eastern conflicts to America. I don't want to deal with that. And I don't think that the Middle East wants us to import our problems over to the Middle East either.
Most of the reporting, as why do all the headlines say children's chaplain, but nothing about the possible ties to terror attempting to get a position inside our prison system? Now I understand their argument. They're framing this as a very loose connection to that organization, and for all we know, this could be true. But it honestly feels like the activist issue isn't with US policy regarding terror, but Egypt's classification of that organization. So why aren't they protesting bridges in Egypt? Or is this yet another example of activists marching on behalf of something they know little to nothing about? But at least...
I wonder. I really wonder. What could it possibly be?
Kentucky isn't playing around, as some of the felonies were...
Not too far. It's a shame. Amazing when you know what I'm talking about. What am I, What do I not know about with this? Let me get, just a second. You're so limited in my knowledge of this. Here, let me explain what I think. Anybody who has any connection with any of these weird terrorist groups at all, I think should be instantly deported if they're not a United States citizen, with no restrictions at all. If you have a connection with one of these groups, I want you removed from the country, period. I don't care what the fine print is. I don't care what the rules are. Change the rules to make that the policy. That we do not need to import these people. These people are problems. And also, maybe not all of them are problems, but enough of them are problems to where it creates an issue for everybody. Yeah, I'm not interested in allowing anybody in here at all. Your worldview of Muslims and Arabs is limited. What about this has to do with Muslims or Arabs? It has nothing. I would say the same thing about people in Africa or people in South America or people in Asia. It has nothing to do with Muslims or Arabs. Like, that's not even the point. The point is that this is a person that's coming into the country that could potentially have a problematic past or a problematic involvement. Why would I want them in the country? I don't. What does this have to do? Like, I don't even get this. Please bring it up. I'm Egyptian. I know how it is. I don't know what it is at all. You mentioned Islamic terrorism. Okay. So Hezbollah is an Islamic terrorist organization. Hamas is an Islamic terrorist organization. I'm trying to, there's another third one that starts with an H. Why am I not thinking of it? There's another one as well, right? The Houthis are an Islamic terrorist organization. There are Islamic terrorist organizations. They do exist. Did I say that every terrorist organization is Islamic? No, of course not, because that's not true. Why would anybody say that? It's not true. So the entire idea, you're putting words in my mouth, getting mad at me because I'm calling this out as a specific thing. I read what it said. That's what they said it was. I'm not making a judgment on this. They are. So if you're getting mad at me for this, go ahead and get mad at them. Now, ISIS, Taliban, yeah, you're this is just so obnoxious. So obnoxious. Putting words in my mouth, getting mad at me for something I didn't say. It's so annoying. The context is Islamic terrorism because of this guy? Yeah. I've never been like this. And also, by the way, there's a lot of people that are Muslim, as far as I know, in Egypt. The ironic thing about this thing is that, do you know which countries do the best job dealing with Islamic terrorism? The Islamic countries over there. The problem is that over in the United States and in Europe, I think that people view any type of criticism of it as some degree of racism, so they're afraid to look at it. And they even say that. There's even a guy from like UAE that said that himself. Is Muslim country under Sharia? Yeah, it's a black person that agrees. He's being rude. Calling me stupid and saying he was making a patronizing comment that was based off of something that I didn't say or even imply. And you're making, like, there's no, like, again, I have no problem with somebody putting a disagreement in chat, but just saying you're stupid and you don't know what you're talking about, and then explaining yourself and what you're explaining isn't even true. No, that's going to get you a ban. Sorry.
Dropped, but mainly due to guilty pleas on the misdemeanor charges, with 4 still facing felony riot convictions. As their defense attorney is arguing at one point, this was a peaceful assembly, but the Kentucky judge just got frustrated, stating this was a riot, as 5+ people gathered with violent behavior, attacking the police. The simple fact
you just look at the video, it's clearly not a peaceful. If you're standing in the road, it's not peaceful. It's that simple. If you're obstructing people's freedom of movement, it's not peaceful. It's literally that simple.
This case hasn't been thrown out makes me believe they're about to find out. It really looks like Kentucky's justice system is trying to set the precedence of just because you're angry over something beyond your understanding doesn't mean you get to throw a temper tantrum blocking our public streets. As it's
even if you do understand it, it doesn't mean that you can block streets. That's the issue. What do you think of the idea of self-deporting illegals with clean pass having a streamlined way back into the country? I don't want to give anybody that was here illegally any sort of a benefit because I think it creates a reward structure around bad behavior. But on a fundamental level, I would much rather have a lot of these hardworking illegals than the annoying, obnoxious Karens standing in the middle of the street. Like, that's my actual opinion on it. I think that we all agree that many of those illegals like America a lot more than these annoying Karens. But it's a bad precedent, and we can't do that, obviously.
Sounds like a slippery slope, but there's a reason why in Florida, activists politely protest alligator Alcatraz from the safety of the side of the road.
Isn't that crazy? Look how well behaved they are. This is what happens whenever the threat of being run over exists. You can easily make people do this. Yeah, we don't have to live in a chaotic society ruled by mentally ill people. There's a difference between protesting and civil disobedience. Civil disobedience is in defiance of the law, and idiots defy the law and call it protest. Well, the difference is that, here's real, like, you know, for example, like Rosa Parks sitting at the front of like a bus instead of the back of the bus. This was something that is standing in the middle of a highway because you're mad that some person got deported by the federal government. There's not like a direct connection here. Whereas with Rosa Parks or sitting in diners or something else, there is a direct connection with this behavior.
When liberal Los Angeles, California loses access to their freeways whenever the Democrats don't get their way. I've covered this third world phenomenon for years now, as sadly the only time the city sees law and order is when Trump deploys the Marines, or when there was mass looting during the lockdowns and the National Guard had to be installed before it stopped. But let me know if you think Kentucky will actually lock up these so-called activists, as some people think a felony conviction is too harsh, but I think it isn't enough. I think if you ever get arrested for activism, you should lose all access to public benefits, as a U.S. taxpayer shouldn't be subsidizing this unemployed behavior. And if you got time,
I'm okay with people that get the benefits, but at the same time, like, I just don't want to see, like, I think that, again, like, you got to put these people in jail or something like that. Like, get these people out of society.
Block a bridge on a Wednesday afternoon, you got time to get a regular job. Possibly on a farm. I heard a lot of them are hiring.
Yeah, I heard that too.
If you appreciate my concise, lighthearted commentary on the tragic status that is today's reality, subscribe to Decoy Voice.
It's crazy. I think that's so fucking funny, man. And I'm glad to see, I also think it's very funny that, like, in Florida, all of these people don't cause any problems because they know it won't actually fly there at all. And so that's really one of my biggest complaints about this in general. There's the video right there. I'll give it a like. And I totally agree with what he's saying, by the way. I absolutely agree with it. And I think that, like, really all you have to do is impose consequences and a degree of actual accountability. And all of this stuff immediately evaporates. Yeah, it totally evaporates and it goes away, and you're not going to have this problem ever.